Welcome, everybody. This is Gail, and welcome to the Empowering Process podcast once again. Today, we're going to be talking with Alissa Bickar. She is the founder of the Consultress, and she talks about how she relies on intuition in order to propel her entrepreneurship forward. And she's all about her entrepreneurship being her muse, being her challenge, and the biggest tool is her personal development, developing who she is, pushes her forward. Join me in welcoming Alissa. So welcome, Alissa. This is going to be so much fun. Hello.
Hi.
Yay. So yeah, so let's start with the Consultress. I am fascinated by that name. How did you come up with that as your business name and basically who you are?
So I will say the Consultress was born out of a couple of dead-end pivots of what I was up to, how I was delivering it, and who I wanted to connect with. So to name myself a consultant only was a little bit misleading because that's the tactical, advisory, practical part of me. But to call myself a life coach was too soft and exclusionary of the tactical genius. So when coach and consultant meet with a little bit of sass and a little bit of kick-ass, the consultress was born.
I love that. I struggled with that my entire entrepreneurial life because I come from a corporate background, very successful. I've been on board of directors, right? Six Sigma, six disciplines, Scrum Master, all of that stuff, right? And now I am actually a soul realignment and the spiritual guide. But I also have this very practical business side. And the fallacy is we are not either or.
100%.
It's and, right? So brilliant. Kudos to you for marrying the two together, right? And in a way that represents you as an individual. Right. I love it. I love it. So it's interesting, and I love your pendant, by the way. What's interesting is another fallacy I'd love to talk about. There's so many lies we can dive into right now. And that is that if you are um intuitive, let's say intuitive, which by the way, guys, we all are. But if you identify with being intuitive, then you're not going to drive a successful business, right? And for me, that's what leads me in my business. So talk to me a little bit about when you discovered that aspect.
Oh, so much juice in there. Let's squeeze it out. Um,
Yes.
so the fallacy that being intuitive is not the leading edge of your business when whoosh, secretly, guess what? It's the engine that powers the business stuff. So when did I discover it? I think I continue to rediscover it all the time. It's present in every single pivot that I've ever had to or got to create for myself and my own business and transformation that I've created for other people is that, we have our very left brain style of thinking, which is our tactical, strategical, integrated, and metric driven self. But, and also, underneath all of that tactical strategy and drive is who you actually are and why you're up to this at all to begin with. And so sometimes we get very left brain heavy because we think that that's what the world demands of us. We think that our industrial age mindset of be, do, strive, have, accomplish is like how we should approach our business and ourselves in like this world of capitalism. But it's a bit of a misnomer because when I've discovered that I strip away the meaning behind what I'm doing in pursuit of the stuff, the doing part, I actually lose momentum. I have found myself disempowered. I found myself like head against the brick wall trying to push and do the thing and create the structure or continue to active actively pursue the structure, when oh, then I lose touch with why I'm doing it, who I'm serving. And so it almost bottoms out,
Yes.
and for me personally, as I was evolving into the Consultress, I had this very liquid brand, this like compass rose development, developing your inner compass for success. And while that is the juicy under part and the why behind it, people didn't really get how to put that into practice. So I swung very hard the other way and made a brand called Kick Ass in Biz, right? Because it was very tactical, very left brain heavy. And when I found myself swaying in the breeze between these two things, oh my God, it felt like I had multiple personality disorder. Like, I'm two different businesses, but no, the middle, the integration of these things is what took me pivot after pivot of going from creative to tactical over and over again to really find this rhythm of homeostasis, because it is, you don't live exclusively in either space. And so, for me, when I realized that I had swung one way for a couple of years and then swung the other way, that neither space exclusive of the other was actually really helpful, is when I started to get nuanced, is when I started to discover the temperance of bringing both sides of the equation to the table to make my integrated self. And that's where I was happiest. And when I was serving from that place of both consultant and coach, that's when my clients were getting the best results too. I have a friend of mine, dear friend, client, and business partner, who built a very successful business in training and becoming an author. But when she wanted to pivot, she had to burn it all down and be like, well, what is it that it calls to me now? What excites me right now? And that
Right.
being in the moment requires the intuition. It is the thing that gives you clarity, that allows you to build from confidence, that is just simply missing when we miss the boat and stay in the logistical mind frame. When we don't think intuition is needed to be at the table, it loses steam. And that's where businesses and ideas die.
And that's so what's really, really interesting is this whole concept of the and, right? We are all of this. A few years ago, I was seeing a practitioner, and she's body talk practitioner. And what body talk is exactly what it sounds like. Your body tells her what's going on and what your body actually needs. And the very first session we had, she's like, you are perfectly balanced. I've never met anyone who is as balanced as you. And because oh my goodness, I've swung from the right to the left to the right to the left. I've not, I've done the same thing as you. What did the consultants say? Right? Hold on a second. There, shut that baby off. What do the consultants say I need to do? I started off with business consultants when I was in my own business, and we're suit, we're those colors, when you're on stage, we're heels, we're right. I go on stage now, flip flops, jeans, and a t-shirt. Why? That's who I am. That's who I am, right? What I wear has to represent who you're going to see and who you're going to work with. What I say has to represent what comes from my heart and what is truth, because that's what I want you to resonate. Otherwise, what happens is I get a client that's not mine.
Yep.
And it doesn't really feel good. It feels kind of icky. So when did you realize your ability to tap into your intuition, and how did you start to trust that this was the way to go? I think a lot of people are like, afraid to trust that gut feeling.
Mm. So what comes to mind is I had to hire somebody who I saw having amazing results, but who seemed to be completely surrendered, languid, and like not busy doing all the things. I looked at her and I thought, how is she accomplishing this very regal, very grounded persona? And she's making money hands over fist. How's she doing that? And I had to hire her. So knowing that it came from a person for me changed the game, because I was busy up till then in the very academic mind of study with the greats, learn the stuff, take the courses. But when I saw it embodied, it something inside me clicked, was like, oh, she's being that. So I hired her for my business. It was the most money I had ever invested in myself and a single person to date up until that point. And when we started working together, our sessions were very languid. We spent a ton of time together. I'm like, how is this person earning any money if she's like spending all day, all these days pouring into me? Like I didn't, like it didn't click. But being loved upon in that way by a consultant who this is the way she shows up helped me to kind of see, all right, so maybe there's a few things that I'm taking for granted in my push, go, do, be thing that maybe aren't serving me. So I watched her create experiences, and sometimes when her body wasn't feeling well, she would say, "You know what? For me to serve you from a great place, I have to cancel today's call. Or we let's reschedule and come visit me and we'll spend the day together." Like these things that were like not part of a course. I wasn't getting nickel and dimed for time. She just said, "I want to serve you best and I'm paying attention to how I am right now." And that was the thing that shifted for me. It was like being herself was what gave me permission to shed all the shoulding that I had been doing and really just sink into, when I serve from a place that my needs are met, because I watched her do it, the right people show up. I don't have to be anything other than me. And the right people will come to me because of that, not in spite of that. Whoop, that was the flip. Not despite who I am, but because of who I am. Because I saw her embody, because she was standing for exactly what she needed and standing for that first, she allowed me to step into that. Change the game.
And and I love, a few of the words that you said. One is pouring into you, and the other that she embodied the change. It's interesting is that I was having a conversation with a few other, I don't want to say the word coaches, but guides, if you will. And I mentioned alchemy, right? And I really didn't understand alchemy until a few years ago, when I literally felt my body change,
Mm.
right? And I will say, people don't get it when Gandhi said, "Be the change." He meant to embody the change, not act as if. Acting as if, is good, but it's energetically, you're not portraying. And so energetically, you had this leader, this guide, this mentor, this teacher showing you, modeling what it means to be yourself so fully and so completely that, number one, I know when I'm not going to be able to show up for you today, so can we reschedule? And number two, giving to you what it is that you need until completion. So it's not, I do the same. Your hour is up. We'll pick this up next week. If you're in the middle, no, we're going to keep going. Right. 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 So how did that feel and how did that shift you? What are some of the things that changed for you when you started to experience this as being the truthful way to live?
Mm. It was freeing. In a way, I was more accepting of myself because I was able to see someone who accepted themselves so deeply. So it gave me even more permission to sink further into myself and to see that all of the value that I've been delivering in the world um, really was as a result of things that had formed me. I might have been putting a little pretty bow on it saying, this is productivity or this is marketing and languaging. But at the end of the day, it was me being able to see that my skill set, my mastery was in being able to see that clearly for somebody else because of where I had been.
Oh, yeah.
So it allowed me to own my story in a way that I hadn't before. I remember very clearly after having had this experience with her, having coffee with someone who was married to a family friend. And he was in financial services, and I was, that had been part of my career journey. So we were networking and talking, and he said, Alissa, your value comes from you, the fact that you grew up in a family business. You speak this language so naturally. You're not even like intellectualizing that it's valuable because it is your foundation. You don't see it as anything special because to you, it is fundamental. And once he said that to me, I turned around and was like, oh my goodness, I've been trying to become something someone or the world had been saying should be valuable because I was searching outside of myself. You just gave me permission to own the 20 years prior to what career experience actually is because I had been experiencing it my entire life. I took it for granted. So it allowed
Right.
me to take that experience and like infuse it and say, ah, okay. So I speak entrepreneur just because I grew up with it. And that has become part of the value is that I don't have to try and learn and become certified in all these things, which when you said before about knowing how to that or acting as if to be the change versus living into it and embodying it, that was the shift and the difference. I realized that I had been being the result rather than and looking like I wasn't, where,
Right.
oh my God, this is so cool. I am the thing that and people are going to look to me because I have this integration of doing business, but also being the person who embodies the messaging, embodies the transformation. Oh my God. And my business exploded.
Right. And I love that that integration. So many things came to my mind. One of the things that I do in soul work and soul realignment work is what is your soul gift as of creation? And here's the reason why it's so important, because we don't even realize that it's a gift because it's who we are.
100%.
Right? It's who we are. And so it comes so naturally. We think nothing of it. It's like, poof, everybody can do this. Yeah, everybody does this, right? Um, and so finding that this is your gift, right? And then exploring when you use this, here is abundance and how it comes to you. And when you're misaligned, if you will, here's what you do. I'll use an example, and then I'd love to talk to you a little bit more about your experience. I tend to have a lot of clients who communication is their soul. It's not mine, but it's theirs. And what's interesting about communicators is they either write or they speak, or somehow that's how they make their money, teach. And communicators need to be heard. So when they're with someone who is not receiving, they get on the soapbox because I need to speak louder if you're not listening to me, and I need to speak more, right?
Yeah.
And the person's not receiving, right? And so then what happens? Well, they're not listening to me. What will they listen to? And so then a communicator will actually become disingenuous in order to be heard.
Powerful.
Yes, in order to be heard. And so when I can show them when that's happening in their lives, right, then they can start to own their truth and shift it around and realize if someone's not going to hear me, that's not my issue. This is who they are, and I can't make them. I
Yeah.
can't make it happen. So for you, you found that this is your gift. And isn't it delicious? Right. I could have been doing this my whole life. In fact, I have been doing this my whole life. How did you now take this and allow this to pull? For me, it's not drive forward, it's being pulled forward.
Yeah.
Right? How did that happen?
Well, I'm trying to like fast forward because there's like decades of info in here. But I think the allowing process took a lot of experimentation of doing and failing and doing and failing and doing and failing, but in a good way that every time I would not get what I thought I was after, I would learn another little piece. So as I like rammed my head against this brick wall of should, I started to like learn little piece at a time, little failure lesson at a time that there's Oh, there's something that I learned from this iteration. Let me incorporate that a little more. So, I thought at first that my message was marketing, that I would help somebody market their business. And, my first client was a friend of mine. She bought a business and I had been helping her saying, all right, well, you should introduce yourself to them, write a letter, and then decide who you really want to keep, who are their golden geese in there. And she's like, can I pay you for this? And I was like, cool, yes, this is great. So I started helping her segment her book of business and communicate powerfully with the people who could make the biggest difference. The next client to come up was in real estate and was really a value creator for people, but was lost in the mishigas of like transactional real estate sales. So helping him get more confident about the value of what he offered. So okay, so I'm investing in him now, not his process per se, but like in him now, about standing up for that value, being willing to be the outlier and convince or train, actually educate a whole marketplace of what it is to be a buyer's broker. By the way, now that's mandatory. Like 15 years later, that's part of the encoding of the real estate industry. But he was before his time.
Right.
So by investing in people in their tactical stuff and investing in them in their confidence of being able to stand for it, my work started to emerge more powerfully as that integration between doing business and being who you are and standing up for that. So fast forward, to present day, this is like over a decade worth of my stories here. Um,
Mhm.
I created a methodology to help people identify, work within, and frame out the tactical components of their business, and then also allow people to see who are the people that you need to assign value to, that you want to surround yourself with to grow, who's a leader you need to become, and lining all that stuff up. That's where exponential growth lives. And
Mhm.
again, I've done this iteration hundreds of times within my own journey, but
Mhm.
watching these people come alive by bringing that tactical space into who they wanted to become and what they stood for, like that's what the world is right now. Like we are leaving the industrial age into the most humane society that humankind's ever seen, but there's a lot of demolition going on. What do I get rid of?
Right.
And
Right.
what do I keep? And so helping people to innovate using that intuition we talked about, and also leaning into only the structure that supports, not the scaffolding and the mess that has been left by pieces of experimentation along the way. Like you
Right.
just have to own that. And the fact that I have owned it for myself, again, I moved my family 5 hours west. No one lived there. I didn't take a job there. We just went for what we wanted and created life from there. And that's what it takes. This integration calls us to be courageous and to not settle for only that which we have experienced. Like that's the biggest message that is coming through all of this support that I'm doing out there in the world and all of the personal work that I'm doing for myself, because business is the biggest playground for this work.
It's the biggest playground. And I love that be courageous. I have a training program for entrepreneurs and it's called Business Woo and You, right? Don't you love it? I'm thinking of creating a speaker series as well for other speakers. And the very first module is an intensive, and it's using Six Sigma, right? In order to build the structure that your business can bounce off of. But it's Six Sigma light, right? You don't have to follow that methodology and then live off of it. But what it does for you, what this structure has done for me, so I'll do from my experience, is it makes me think about, well, what are my metrics? How do I measure? For me, I measure based on what does my client look like when we start, and what do they look like when we're done? Because you will change, your face will change, right? If it's with leaders, what choices are they making when we start? What choices do they make, right? And so it's at the beginning, and it's not something that is numeric. It's not an accounting measure, but it's a metric. So it helps you think of measuring in a way that suits your business, but you think about that. And then after you're done, it's the woo and other tactics that go into owning a business of your own, right? And just being confident and knowing what it is that you want to do, and then go for it, and being flexible. I think that's the thing when I hear someone who follows God's lead, if you will, that lead will go in directions that you might say, you want me to what? Right? Like you move 5 hours, you want, I'm going to do it, but what are you talking about? Right? So, share some of those stories with me where you've gone, okay, I'm going to do it.
Listen, so I have so many of those. Like, are you kidding? Okay, I'm gonna homeschool my kids. What? What? I wanted to be an entrepreneur. My kids were just old enough to start getting into school. And then I was trained as a human potential trainer and then saw myself outsourcing my humans and was like, oh no, I can't unsee that. Not that school is bad per se, but like I saw experiences I was creating for people with business again. And I was like, oh my God, but my kids are coming home with the seedlings of the things that I'm helping other people in their decades later pull out of their schematic. All right, nudge, fine. I'll homeschool. Cool. I did that for 6 years and I studied all the different modalities and chose unschooling because guess what? I had some schematic I needed to pull out of myself too to give them the best experiential learning experiences that I could. And
Yep.
so I didn't know what would come from that, but I built an organization that year because I'm like, I need people around me. It's one of my core values is community. And
Mhm.
so I built a scout troop that year with a partner, and we were outside every single week that year, at least once a week. And my business took a little bit of a back seat, but like what was calling me, what was imperative was that I create this foundation of an experience, and that momentum carried us for 6 years. We had more, I saw more nature in the little island that we lived on in that period of time than I had seen the whole 30 some before it. It was
My
incredible. And I
my
had such a great time.
my
But
son's
again,
wife homeschooled their kids for a while, right? And so, guys, imagine the education your child gets when they're in Bora Bora. Imagine the education they get when they're in South America. Imagine the education they get when they're playing hockey at the Eiffel Tower,
yeah.
right? Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
And when we talked history, we were around people from all different countries. So the lessons we were learning was because of and then attributable to like actual people in their life. Like the learning we were up to really stuck. So after 6 years, they went to a rural public school after we had moved. And,
Right.
here they are with the agility and the ability to adapt. That was what that period of time gave them, that experience that they could learn anything given their curiosity and whatever situation they were confronted with. Like, high five, goal achieved. They were
Right.
able to pivot and adapt in their current context, but they knew themselves first. That was the biggest thing for me. And when my business moved from being on in person and networking specifically locally to, okay, I did this homeschooling thing. How do I innovate? And moving it into real estate, then like each one of these pivots was like, are you sure? Like, what? I'm going to go get certified as a realtor. I'm like, I'm a business coach. What am I doing? But following that nudge allowed some of my family's dreams to expand. And now I'm able to address an even wider marketplace that I never would have had access to. Some of the greatest
Right.
people in my life today, because I made that decision and I was like, okay, it doesn't fit anything I'm doing right now. It doesn't look like any of the picture I painted that I thought I wanted. This
Yep.
nudge keeps calling me and I can't ignore it. And so not ignoring it, like using that, like pulling that little tiny whisper of intuition, it opened up completely new universes of experience for me, for my family, for my clients, and I'm better for it. Like my life has expanded, my prosperity has multiplied, and I get to stand for that for my family. and for the people that I get to serve.
And so isn't that just so delicious? I had lunch one time with a gentleman. This was at an event. We were both speakers. He's very, in your face military type guy. And I'm talking about flow in leadership, right? And we're sitting down and he's like, you people who blah, blah, blah from your intuition. And I'm listening to his judgment. And I laughed and I said, listen, I know that sitting on a mountaintop contemplating my navel is never going to get me a Maserati. I know I have to take action, but I'm going to take guided action.
Amen.
Right. So it's, we're not like, oh, well, why is there no money in my checking account? Oh, still no money in my checking account. Right. That doesn't work, folks. That's the yin and the yang, getting the left brain and the right brain. That's your intuition and your practical. That's this whole world is a balance. If you take a look at the Kabbalah is a balance. You take a look at your chakras are a balance. You take a look at the tree of life is a balance. Take a look at your body, it's a balance.
Yep.
Right. And what we're stepping into now, you mentioned it, into the divine feminine, in a process of the divine feminine marrying the divine masculine. And I don't mean yes.
Oh, yeah.
It's not overtaking the man, because the divine masculine has never been present, right? The masculine, the patriarchal organizations that we know are not the divine masculine. There are a few that have stepped into that. I've met a few leaders who embody that, and it's delicious, right? And if you look at the definition of the roles for those two balanced and energies, right? The masculine creates the womb, creates the cocoon, and the divine feminine manifests within that.
I mean, I couldn't have said it better myself. I think and I'll go back to like the industrial age mind, which is this, very regimented and structurally rigid type of thinking, behaving, and the divine feminine qualities, which are very fluid, very interconnected, where everything is one. And having the partnership between those two things come now to have a conversation, to come to the table and have influence over creating something new, creating something that's both borrowed and blue, new and old. It is right now we're in that age of that divine partnership where our tactical selves and our real and divine selves get to sit in the same body. We get to come and create these new conversations that move humanity forward. It's nothing that has ever been here before where we are today. And it's
Never.
going to require the crafting of new tools, which is why it's great to learn your history, to study all that has been in whatever it is that you're passionate about, and also to acknowledge, witness, and sit in your power of your personal experience. It's the marrying literally of the infinite and the individual.
Yeah, and there are two things, and this is just this week that's come up. One is not just this week, and that is, be curious and don't take anything as being truth, because everything is an illusion.
And
So
everything's up for review.
everything is up for review.
Everything.
Everything. And there's no right or wrong. Just make your choice based on connecting with yourself, right? And so I'll talk a little bit later about what I do about that. So I'm reading what I wrote down this week, because I wrote it down and I literally drove my coaching sessions this week based on this. If you were truly free of this issue, what would your life be? If you were truly free, and that's what we're talking about, that freedom. You mentioned the world falling apart, things blowing up right now. That's part of the alchemy process. You have to destroy, and it's very uncomfortable because it's new, it's unknown where we're going. But going together in the divine and masculine, the divine feminine and divine masculine partnership, it's exciting, right? And so what you've done in yourself and in your business was marry those two together and alchemize that within yourself so that you can project that to your clients. And in seeing that possibility, they have a choice to start to embody that themselves. Awesome.
Drop those mics.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. So there is no this or that. It's this and that. And so, Alissa, I just love how this conversation went. Tell us a little bit about, people wanted to get to know a little bit more about you. Where would they find you?
Well, if you just Google Consultress, I am the one and only.
Yes, I've done it.
Please. Whatever platform is your flavor and your preference. I'm on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Instagram. Please send me a DM. Get in touch and say, hey, Gail sent me. I'd love to schedule some time with you. And we'll have a conversation. Again, I love to work with entrepreneurs because I believe that that is the current value creation. We are crafting new tools today in today's environment and business that allows what comes next to unfold. And so I support it. I love working with people who are in the support and tactical spaces, whether that's they own a bookkeeping agency or they're a VA business agency, people who are supporting all the creative entrepreneurs out there. Like, guess what? This integration is for you as well. When you support businesses from this whole space, exponential magic can happen in this world. And so I want to be part of that change. My business is part of that change. My life is part of that change. So if you're feeling the call to innovate beyond the rigid structure that is your business, or the frustration that's going on out there, and you're feeling like you're wanting to innovate, but you're hitting a wall because of all the stuff you know how to do, the courses you've taken, the stuff you've already put into your brain, let's create some magic here.
Beat that stuff out.
It's time to mulch it. It's time to use all that knowledge and process it through with your unique wisdom. And let's go.
I love it. I love it. So everybody, thank you so much for listening to us. This is Gail from the Empowering Process podcast. If you love this, we need a thumbs up. If you have any questions or comments, do put them down in the comment section. We will get back to you with your answers. If you know someone who would benefit from this, please do share it out. And as always, do subscribe so that you know when the next episode happens. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Empowering Process podcast. Be sure to visit Gail at gailcraft.com to learn more about how she serves thought leaders, entrepreneurs, and goal seekers. And remember, if you like this broadcast, be sure to share and subscribe so you don't miss an episode.